Hi guys, Patty from Patty's Crafty Spot, and I'm here to share with you another design team project for Country Craft Creations. And I use the paper collection Lucky Charm by Photoplay, which is so stinking cute. I love it. So I had already made that decor piece earlier to catch a gnome. So if you didn't catch that already, I'll leave a link down below. But I had some leftover paper, not much, but I had some, so I went ahead and created this little mini hardcover folio, and let's take a walk through it. So I had also had left over some of the embellishments from making my other project, so I went ahead and added the leaves and the 4-leaf clover coin, and then this clover here was three-dimensional, so I cut it in half with a razor. So just be very careful if you do something like that. So anyway, it opens up. Oh, let me give you a measurement real quick if I can find my ruler. Oh, we're just going to use this big old guy. So it's 7, shoot, that's not working. 5.5 by 7.5 is the measurement of this, with a 1-inch spine. So we go ahead and open it up. I did use some of the pretty seam binding that I got in my design team package. It is a really pretty, like a lemon yellow. Oh, right there might kind of show, right there. It shows what it actually looks like. It's super pretty. And I did that for a tie closure because sometimes when you're adding to a book and you have a magnetic closure, if your book gets too thick, sometimes your magnet starts not being able to make a full connection. So I kind of like using a string closure, especially when I don't know what the thickness is actually going to end up being. So I went ahead and added that. So we open up to the front cover, and I have a little corner pocket with some photo mats hiding out. Over here, again, I added a photo mat. Because I didn't have a lot of paper, I just used some thin strips and bordered around my photo mat. And then over here, room for more photos. These were the stickers from the sticker page. I went ahead and, oh, he still just does not want to stay. I'm going to have to add glue to him. So I went ahead and added some cardstock to the top part here, and I left the bottom sticky. Obviously, I touched it too much because it's not going to stay stuck, so I'll just add some glue. It fell off at the end too when I was recording the follow-up. Anyway, you would tuck your photo underneath and then kind of tape that down. Same thing over here. And then in the center portion of it, I created 2 waterfalls, and they just, I think this got twisted under. So they open up like this. I did have from my stash a cute little 4-leaf clover charm I added, and then it just flips up. And I do show you in the video a real simple way to go ahead and make that. And then this side is the same thing. And then these 2 open up just like this. Again, going ahead and using the sticker sheets to embellish. And then I created little center pockets right here, so you can see that. And then the pockets are in this direction because when you close these down, nothing should fall out. And flip over here, the same thing again. This page is the same as the other, as well as a little corner pocket. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little walkthrough. Following this video is the full tutorial, and if you have any questions, just leave a question down below. All right, enjoy the video, guys. All right, so we are going to go ahead and make a little mini folio hardcover because I like to make my folios with hardcovers. So I have not a lot of paper left from making my Lucky Charm to Catch a Gnome project. So I have like some scraps. I do have a couple of big pieces left. So I figured what better thing to do than to go ahead and make a tiny little mini folio. So this would be perfect for kind of like a brag book, so to speak. So what you're going to need is 2 pieces of chipboard, 7.5 by 5.5, and then 1 piece at 7.5 by 1 inch. And I've already added score tape to my pieces, just like that. And we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so I have these fun tools that I got from Country Craft Creations, and they're going to be what's going to help us cover these covers. And I'm using the method that Tamara does on hers because I absolutely love making covers this way. So one this way, and one this way, and yes, we're good. So we're going to go ahead and stick this on. These cute little spacers you can get in the Country Craft Creations shop. I was going to say in the design team. You can get it in the shop. I will leave links down below. But if it's a tool and a gadget, I gotta have it. So I got them. I've actually had them for a while. Even before I was on the design team, I was using them because they're perfect. And then let's just go ahead and get this one down too, so I don't have to do that one. We'll see how fast I can get this cover made. There we go. Perfect. And now let's just trim these up. Make sure that they're stuck down. Haven't really quite decided yet how we're going to design this one, but I'll figure it out. I have a lot of paper, so we'll probably have some photo mats hanging out in there. Now I just need my ruler to trim. Oh, here we go. So because it was these spacers are 1 inch, I'm just going to continue with the 1 inch border. And trim that up. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other one, and then I'm going to add tape to the border. Alright, so I went ahead and covered one of them just to save some time. So this is my other cover page. Let's turn it the right way. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim off my corners real quick. If you don't have the fancy tools, you can just go ahead and trim it off with scissors, leaving a little gap at the end so you can see it's probably a 1/16 of an inch maybe. But I have the fancy tools, so I use them, and that's because if I don't cut it even, I'll lose my marbles. Because I'm too picky. Alright. So now we're going to go ahead and crease on all our sides a little bit. I'm going to remove the sides first. And get that burnished over. And do this side. I still have some of the stickers left, the gnome stickers, and they're so darn cute, so probably do something with them on the cover. And then now we're going to do the top and the bottom. So the little bits that are folded over here, I just like to squish them down. That way they will fold flat. And then I like to take, because you can feel the paper, especially if you're using thicker paper, you can feel it when where the edge is. So I like to just kind of smoosh that into the chipboard to flatten it out. And then the last side. And this one. So I do know that some of this paper is still available at Country Craft Creations. And if you guys have not seen yet, Tamara came out with an amazing paper lines. She's got 2 out now to purchase, Country Bunny and the Ireland one. I can't remember the full name of that one. Let me see. It's Ireland Forever. I don't know why I can't remember that name. It is absolutely gorgeous. I do not know which one is my favorite yet. Whether it is Country Bunny or the Ireland paper. It's they're both gorgeous. And the greens on the Ireland Forever are beautiful. So I cannot wait to get it and play with it. So anyway, these are these 2 covers here. Now we just have our 1-inch piece right here to cover. And I got a piece of paper. Let's see, is it small enough? I need a bigger piece. I'd rather cut too much than not enough. So this one here, I think I'm going to do 2 inches on this side. So I'm just going to score it 2 to just to give me a rough mark so I know where to put that down. And let's see, I already have tape on the back of that one. And what am I doing? Scoreboard. Oh, I should have kept it out. So I'm just going to use one of these for the top, and then I'm going to put it to the 2-inch score line. And set it down. Luckily that did not stick because I did not have it even. And if that was the case, you would have seen an edit because I would have had to redo it. All right, so let's trim off at my bottom here. And I'm trimming this off at 1 inch. Trying not to make these videos so long for just this portion of it, because sometimes I can have and I'm doing 2 inches over. Sometimes 1/4 of my video is just making covers. So just folding it to get some creases going. All right, so let's go ahead and add some tape. And I don't remember how much I need, so I'm just going to cover this whole section here. Because my brain, can't speak either, is drawing a blank. So let's get some full tape coverage on that, just in case. So I was so glad to see the new paper lines come out, because I have not seen anything that I really like lately. So it is exciting. So now I'm just folding this over. and giving it some creases. Just so when I do stick it down, it'll be even. And what I'm doing is when I'm folding it up, my actual score line right here that I scored it, I'm making sure I'm at least getting it even to the spine piece. That way I know it should be on straight as long as I scored straight. All right, so now let's go ahead and trim it up. All right, had to think a minute. All right, so now that we have, let me just give it another good burnish down. Because now we're going to trim that up. So I'm going to turn it over so I can see where I scored it. That one's not quite. Alright, so now I'm going to just trim. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it like this. Alright, so now let me get longer scissors. So I am putting the tip of my scissors right up to the chipboard. That way I know I'm going to get it straight. So actually, I'm not going to do it that way because I'll overcut. So you want to cut it to where the chipboard is so it folds over. So you have to do it from this side. So I'm making sure it's straight. I'm trying to follow my creasing on my tape right there from where I was burnishing it. That. And that. Did I cut too far? No. Alright, so if you are worried that your chipboard might show, just go ahead and use a black Sharpie just at the little ends here. Just in case. I like to do that. Sometimes you can always go in with a Sharpie afterwards or some paint. Now it looks like a stick because I rounded the corners. Looks like a tongue depressor. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and stick the middle piece down. Like that. And just going to push it up along the sides for any of the cardstock that might overhang. Which sometimes is actually good because then it kind of wraps the edges of the chipboard. And that one I actually cut exactly. Oops. Alright, and now what we want to do is we need to cut an angle into our paper here, so we're trying to eliminate any bulk that we're going to have. So from this corner here, I'm going to cut it at an angle this way. And just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this side. There you go. That. And then over here. And if I had a tool, I'd be using a tool. Alright, so now we have this. We need to go ahead and let's fold down. And I like to fold all the way over just so I can get my crease lines going for myself. And that's the one with the score line, so that one's easy. And now I'm going to go right up along the spine. And then this side. So basically what you're trying to do is see how you're getting it dented in. So like this piece kind of is lower, it sits lower, so it's like a little step, because you're going to go ahead and add these pages on right here. Where's my light's playing? So you're going to put them right here. So you want to go ahead and kind of crease that down a little bit. And I think doing the covers this way gives it such a nice clean look, and the covers will open up flat, which makes it look really pretty. All right, so I'm going to add some tape and add tape here, and I'll show you in 1 second. All right, so I went ahead and added my tape. Let's clear some of this out. I sometimes tend to get crowded over here when I'm recording, because that's how I usually end up working, and then I look up and I have a huge mess. So I added a 1/4 inch tape right here. I put it in between the foldovers. If you go all the way end to end, you will have it sticking out from your binding. I mean, not your binding, yeah, well, your spine page. And then you have to trim it off. So this time I just went in the middle here, just not all the way to the end. That way when I do stick it on, as you can see, it's not going to show over. So, and then I have tape on both sides. So I left some spacing. I didn't go all the way, whoops. I didn't go all the way over to the edge. I left some room because I didn't want tape showing either there. So let's go ahead and stick those on. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it as tight and close to the spine, making sure I'm even. And make sure that's stuck down. And there we go, like that. So now I'm just going to do the other side. And make sure we're good. And we're all good there. And you don't have to get anything burnished from the spine to the covers, because look how pretty that is. It's completely wrapped nice. So now what we need to do is cut a piece of cardstock to go ahead and cover this whole area, because I'm not using the spine like what you would normally use it for putting your binding system on. It's just going to be the center of it, and then it's going to close up like that. So let me cut a piece of that. Okay, so I cut a piece of cardstock, and it actually measures exactly 12 inches wide for what I need. So that was easy to do with the 12 by 12 sheet. And then my height is, I'm going with 7 1/4. Probably could have gone with 7 3/8, but I went with 7 1/4 instead. So basically we're going to go ahead and stick it on just like this, because this little part here will probably bug me, but it won't be, you won't really see it when it's has paper on it. So anyway, you want full tape coverage to the whole back piece. And we're going to go ahead and stick it on. And all right, so now I'm going to go ahead and stick it on and make sure I'm lined up all over the place. And I'm pushing it down in the center first, because I want to kind of lift a little bit, and then just give it some scoring in here because that's where it's going to bend. And that one I can go ahead and stick down that side. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to lift it a little. Just to get a little bit, and then stick it all the way down. And now I can keep, whoops, working on that one. And let's get this side. And let's get that broken in. So I just keep working it slowly. I don't want to force it because then it will crack. And you just keep working it slowly till you can kind of get it to go flat on itself. And then that's also a good way. You can see that I am lined up. Let's get this side down. And there we go. It's just super cute like this. We're all lined up. Alrighty, let's get to make it pretty. So we're going to go ahead and add some flaps to our book to go ahead and get it started. So we have a little baseline as to what we're going to work with. So I cut out 4 pieces at 5 3/4 by 7 1/4, and I scored at a 1/2 inch on the 5 3/4 spot. So it's giving you a usable space of 6 1/4 by 5 1/4. And then go ahead and add tape to them. Then we're going to trim off all the corners real quick. So those are all trimmed. So let's get these part folded and burnished. So with these ones here, we're going to go ahead and we're not going to put anything on the spine. I haven't decided if I'm going to or not. I don't think I'm going to because 1 inch is really too small to go ahead and work with. I could maybe stick a flap on it. Actually, I think I could. All right, so we might be making more of these, but we'll see. So the first one you're going to stick on, you're going to center it to the space, and you're going to come almost all the way over to where your book folds up. So you can see I only have a very small area there. So it's maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/16, not 1/8. I don't think it's that big. Oh no, it is 1/8, I'm sorry. So when I have it where I want it, I'm just going to go ahead and stick that one down like that. And then do again to the other side. And making sure I am watching my spacing here and the top and the bottom so I'm even, as well as making sure I am not too close to my spine. So we have those. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and stay with what we got. And I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. So I'm mixing it up a little. So let's go ahead and burnish that down. So I have it this way here. I want to put it on here so I have a nice clean look right here. And I'm lining it up, making sure I am even to this side's page so I'll know it'll be squared off. Oh, sugar. Hold on, I gotta fix it. Alright, try it again. So I'm gonna line it up. Okay, looks good. Try it again. So we have those, and then I'm going to put the other one, so I should almost. So again, doing the same thing, I'm lining it up on my spine. And once I'm good, stick it down. So there's that little page. And you can tell it's 1 inch because my 1/2 inch score lines actually fit perfect. They're butt up against each other. So now we have pages that will flip just like that. So you want to be careful how much you do add to these areas here, because you can see when you have your book like this, it's pretty tight in there. So this is supposed to be just a little brag book to hold a few photos, so you don't want to go too crazy. So let's see what we're going to do. Okay, I'm going to cut 2 more of these, so I'm going to make it 6. So you need 2 more 5 3/4 by 7 1/4. So I cut 2 more pieces, added tape. Let's trim the corners. Alright. So what you want to do with these, so I'm glad I did change kind of up what I was doing, because I have all this workable space in the 1 inch middle there, and I don't have a lot on the side. So what I'm going to do to the center 2 pages is what I was going to do to the other ones, but I think it's going to be too much. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it over because I don't want to see the tape. So this is the center page. This is the one closest to the spine. So actually, you know what? That is too big because we're going to rub against this part. So I'm going to change that measurement. Okay, so I changed it up. So it's going to be 5 1/2 instead. So it's going to be a little shorter because we don't want it to rub on here. So now we can stick it down. So we're doing 5 1/2 by 7 1/4, scoring at a 1/2 inch on the 5 1/2 inch line. So I'm going to make sure I am all squared off. And then up nice and tight to that page. And you can tell you're tight too if, I'll show you in 1 second. So I just want to burnish this first. So that's better. So you have a little bit of a gap here now. So this page won't be rubbing on your spine. So that'll be good. So let's do the other side. So sticking it on the next page, so you have this flap, that's the back cover. I'm going to stick it over here. And it's going to be hard to tell, but let me show you. So you'll know you'll have it lined up when you have it all the way to the score line on this page, so it'll be nice and tight. So I'm going to flip it over this way. Again, I am looking, actually I can show it to you this way, making sure I'm squared off. I don't see any chipboard hanging over, and you can tell you're good when you can see, kind of see your score line right there. I know it's hard to tell, but you just want to push it in and make it tight. I can see I'm good right there. If you're not up nice and tight, that's when you could, when you flip it over like this, you will see your tape, and we don't want to see our tape. All right, so this will be the inside. That'll open up to a nice photo spread like that. I think I'm probably going to do some little waterfalls on here because we do have enough space here, so we can go ahead and add some waterfalls because we have plenty of room. So this is what we have right now. Okay, so let's see. Do I want to do waterfalls or do I want to do pockets? Let's put a cute little corner pocket right here. So our next piece is going to be 5 by 5 because we're going to use this to make our corner pockets for our front, inside, and front, backside cover, inside, front, and back cover. So I scored 1/2 inch all the way around, applied tape, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from this corner to this corner in my cutter. That is what I have. So now what I can do is trim up this. So I'm going to cut off at the X. That way our sides can fold. And then I just like to go ahead and clean it up, and I'm just cutting off my corners. And let's do the same thing to this piece. Okay. And let's stick those guys down. So we're going to fold. And if you cut it right at the bottom corner, those should not overlap. If they do, trim it up. And I'm just going to trim this piece off. And I'm going to stick it in the corner. And I'm going to stick it about 1/8 of an inch from the top and the bottom. And then this one. And then we have that corner there. So we're going to flip all the pages over and do the same thing to the back cover. And lining it all the way out. And there we go. So now we have 2 corner pockets there. I'm not going to add too much to this because I don't want to bulk it up. So these 2 here are going to stay like that. So why don't we start adding some pattern paper, because I I have a habit of building, and then next thing I know, I've created a monster. So I don't want to run out of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do these up, and I'll probably do the outside cover, just because, again, I don't want to lose out on what I have for paper. I could just cut them and keep them aside, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut those out. I cut out my pages for my cover, so I just shortened it by 1/4 of an inch, and then this is what they're going to look like. So before I do that, I want to make my closure, so I'm using some more of the gorgeous yellow seam binding, which will look really pretty on here. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but it's going to look really cute. So I want to find my center, so let's see. So my center is 3/4 of an inch down, so if you have a centering ruler, you can do that, or just make a mark at 3 1/4 inches down. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So my closures will line up. And then all I'm going to do is just put some tape, just like that. And I'll put my first one down. Right over my tape, because I know that's the center. And I'm just going to guess, I'll probably use this much. My closure there. So how long is that one? So I'll make it the same. So that piece, and then the same thing over here. And then I'll probably afterwards put a little dab of glue across the top so it won't fray. So that's where those go. Oops, I just chipped that. So I inked everything with distressed ink, and I used black soot. So now we're going to go, oh, I didn't get this bottom. So I taped all the way around. And I'm just going to put one down the middle so I don't have any lifting of the center. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this guy stuck down. So centering it to the space. How's that? Now what I like to do when I add a ribbon closure is I like to take a little bit of glue and go around where the ribbon is, just in case I don't want to, because the ribbon's going to get some use. So I just don't want it to kind of pull out from the tape. So I'm just going to add some glue, but let's get the tape off first. So we're ready to stick, and then just like that, just a little glue. Smush that out. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And this side here. And that looks good. Making sure I'm still centered. Oops. And let's get the tape off. And add some glue. And the only thing left now is to put the little piece on the spine. Put my pin back in. I just used art glitter glue. And this little guy is going to go right here. That one's going to be a little more challenging to get the tape up. And that's just because it's such a small piece. So when I'm putting it down here, I'm centering it to the space here. And I'm also making sure I'm lining up with my top and my bottom of my cardstock. Just that way it will look nice. So I'm going to hold it as far over as I slip. And that's good. And that's done. So this is what we have right now. Cute little book. Make sure when you are using paper and stuff, if it's directional, pay attention before you start adding paper, because the last thing you want to do is, because we did use glue on the cover to hold the seam binding down, the last thing you want to do is start putting on your paper upside down. So I have that, so let's do the other two there. So this is what I did to the back cover, inside back cover, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the front inside cover. So to cover over my corner pockets right here, I cut a piece that was so 3 5/8 and cut it at an angle. I use non-directional paper so I could go ahead and stick it in there. And then this is cut at 5 by 7 to go ahead and fit in the pocket. I added tape to one full side across the top and only part way down because that's where it's going to hit my pocket. And let me just start these a little bit so I can pull them up. All right, so what you want to do is stick it in the corner pocket, stick it all the way in the corner because of the flat parts where you're folded over your corner pocket. You don't want them to hang up on that. So I like to stick it all the way in and then just kind of pull it up a little bit and then center it to where my space is that I want to put it and hold it. And I'm going to remove one side. Yeah. Then I can remove the tape from the other two. Stick that down. This corner pocket is a little too small for tape, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it in just like that. And center it to the corner pocket. Oops. My glue smushed out. And there we go for those two. So now because this flap here lays really flat across here, I went ahead and I cut out 2 photo mats. And these are 6.5 by 4.5. And what I want to do is center them to the space and stick them down. So I did not add tape yet. Let me add some tape to those. And I'm just going to add tape to 2 sides. Ideally, if we are working with a bigger book, more pattern paper, I probably would have cut that page, adding a 1/4 inch gusset to the right after the score line to hold the page down. However, as you know, I'm working with limited paper, so I want to make it pretty. So this is a great way to go ahead and use up some scraps because you literally only need to cover around the border instead of the full page. So I'm eyeballing it now. And of course I'm going to measure. So that is actually perfect. I have good eyeballs. Wow. So it's literally a 1/2 inch border all the way around. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. So again, lining it up. And let's see, so we're 1/2 inch. Wow, I have good eyeballs. I probably will never be able to do that again, but I got both of them centered just by eyeballing it. All right. So I'll wait till I'm done, and then I'm just going to go ahead and border this around with some little strips of paper. So we have that. We have a little bit of a gusset there, not a whole lot. So I think I'm actually going to do the same to these 2 pages, and then if you go to the back one, this one and this one. Although I could do different sizes. All right, we'll figure that out. So as you can see, I went ahead and just trimmed around. So I cut them out at a 1/2 inch, and I did have to do a little bit of tweaking on some of it, but I went ahead and just bordered my photo mat just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing back here, and then probably when you open up the first page here, I'll do some kind of similar treatment to this page. I don't know if I'm going to be using another 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 or use some different sizes, because I do have some paper, but we will see where we'll go from there. Now we're going to move on to making the inside portion of this. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a waterfall. So let me just show you real quick. And it just flips open. I didn't put any papers on the inside here because that's for photos and stuff. And then I have a cute little string closure with a little charm that I put on. It's a little clover I had in my stash. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do a matching one for this side. And this is what you're going to need to make your waterfall. You're going to need 7 pieces at 4 1/2 by 4 and score on the 4-inch side at a 1/2 inch. So our usable area will be 4 1/2 by 3 1/2 and 1 piece at 4 1/2 by 7. So let's go ahead and get started. This is my 4 1/2 by 7. And these are 7 4 1/2 by 4. I scored at a 1/2 inch, and they all have tape on the back so we can get started. And I just didn't burnish them yet, so let me do that real quick with you. You may notice I changed my mat. I flipped it around. The green side was getting a little dirty, so I flipped it around to the yellow side, and I have never used the yellow side before, so I kind of like how it looks in the video. Kind of makes it brighter, although it's very bright. I had to actually even move my camera because the sun coming in the window was so bright. It was washing out half of my area over here. So I said, I've got to move my camera. Let's go ahead and flip the mat. So I like to make my waterfalls this way because I don't know if you ever have a time when you're making your waterfall and you kind of start to go crooked. Like you might kind of be overlapping, not that much, that's exaggerating, but you don't always kind of line up even. So what I like to do is cut a piece of paper that is the same width that my waterfall pieces are, so they would line up perfectly on here. And I'm going to go ahead and attach them, and I'm using this piece here to square off my my photo mats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the first piece on the top, and I am making sure that I am lining up perfectly to the side as well as perfectly to the top. So I'm just going to rotate it because it's easier for me to see the top without you seeing my head. So I'm going to line it up. And I'm going to line it up as perfect as I can. And I'm focusing on, this is the side portion, but I'm focusing on here. So I'm going to follow this side along straight. So when I have it where I like it, I'm going to hold it down, untuck, and stick it back. And let's give it a good burnish so it's folded nice and tight. So as you can see now, I should, as long as I cut the bottom piece here the same width as my photo mat, I should be squared off perfectly. And as you can see, there's nothing sticking over there. So now I want to set the next piece down. So I'm going to open up the first, and I'm going to do the same thing again. And I'm going to make sure I am lined up to the side, focusing on the side first, and then making sure I am lined up at the top here too. So once I get it to where I'm happy, I'm just going to untuck and stick. And then burnish that one down. So as you can see now, we are lining up nice and square. And then when you fold it down, you're also still nice. So I'm going to continue down with all of my pieces, doing the same method. And when I'm happy, I'm going to stick it. If you're not lined up square, this is where it's easier to go ahead and perhaps you have to cut a new piece because your cutter didn't cut it straight. Or even try to grab a new piece. And then as you flip this way, you should still be lining up perfect. So just keep checking it to make sure. But I'm fairly confident that I will have mine, hopefully, perfectly straight. So I can see right now that this one is sticking out. So my cutter didn't cut that one just perfect. So let's go to the next. And that one looks good. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, you can see that. You can see that without even off the camera. So it's not, that one's got to be trimmed too. So like I said, this way you can tell if your cutter didn't cut it perfect. And that one too. All right, so let me trim those up and we'll keep going. So as you can see, these were the pieces that I trimmed, like super thin pieces. So we should be lined up better now. And yes, much better. And if you're not picky about it, then you don't even have to trim it. And then we're going to go ahead and attach a little string closure to it afterwards to keep it all closed. If you prefer a different way to keep it closed, go ahead and do whatever method you like. You can do a little flat piece with a magnet. I'm doing the string closure. And that's just because I kind of like the string closures. So there. So now you can see we are all lined up. You can see it there. If you flip it over, same thing. There is no overhang. So now we need to go ahead and cut some pattern paper. So what I did on this one over here was I used, this is the one that I'm going to use for here. So this piece here is 4.5 inches wide. So I'm cutting my pattern paper at 4 1/4. And I'm going to cut the one whole piece because then I'll have the bigger piece here, and then I'm going to cut 1/2 inch strips all the way down. So let me trim this down. All right, so I cut out a piece for my top one right here, just like that. And then with a circle die, I just went ahead and cut out some circles. So let's glue these together. These are going to be for our string closure. And I just like to use 2 layers of black cardstock and then 1 pattern piece just to give it a little thickness. Or you could just use 1 pattern paper and a thicker thing of paper, such as a 110 pound or something. And then I just kind of like to go ahead and, while the glue is still drying, kind of give it a little bit of a shape to it, because you don't want it to lay super flat. You want to be able to wrap the string around it without it being difficult. You want the string to just, you can see it's a little lifted here. You just want it so that way the string will just wrap nicely, just like that. And I need a brad, so let's go with a bright yellow one so it looks like a coin. And I'm going to go ahead and just put a little pencil mark in the center, or where I think it's the center. And I'm going to punch a hole. Just like that. And then now I want to take this piece, decide on my pattern piece where I want to go ahead and do it. So kind of like that, just like there. So I'm going to go ahead from the hole that I just did and make another little mark. Now what I like to do, because I am putting the brad through here, and I don't want the brad to pull through the paper because the cardstock is kind of on the thin side, I like to back it with just a little piece of cardstock where I want to punch my other hole. So I'm just using my light, and that's where that's going to go. And then now I can go ahead and punch right through. And then we can put our brad in. And sometimes too, I like to put it in and then again just kind of form it to give it a little curve. And then I can put this in. And there we go. And I know it might be overkill, but I also want to make sure that nothing is going to lift up. So I cut another piece of cardstock. So if you're doing this, you definitely want to go with thinner cardstock. You don't want to use 110. And then I just want to secure that brad in place. so I know it's not going to come up. And this is all going to be underneath, so you're not going to see it at all. Just like that. So now we can go ahead and set that on there. So of course I'm going to use tape. Tape on the bottom, tape on the top. And I am going to add glue. So now I want to go ahead and center it up to where I want it. That looks good. Like that. And then just going to add some glue. And remove this tape and just stick it down. And there we go. So now the only thing left is to cut the little pieces. And it looks like I got some ink that's smudged. All right, I do not need the glue now. So now this is the other half of this piece right here. So as you can see, it's cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 1/2 inch strips, but I want to add some tape to that. So give me 1 second. I got to open up a new package and I don't want to hear you. I don't want to make that wrinkling loud. So I'm just going to use some 2-inch. Use that one. I find it easier to put tape on than trying to do it after. So I'll show you one. And then I'm going to do the rest off camera because it's literally the same. So I like to ink while it's a larger piece at first. And I need, where's my ruler? So I'm going to cut 1/2 inch strips. So I'm lining it up. I could use my paper trimmer, but for the smaller stuff, I find it better if I just use my craft knife. Then I can go ahead and ink the bottom. And then I usually will go in and do the top. So we're good there. So on this piece now, what I want to do is just make a little mark as to how far over I need to kind of come. So I'll go down the whole thing. And if I need to adjust it along the way, I will. But I know, like, you can see my little pencil mark. I'm kind of lining it up with the edge of this. So I know when I put this piece on, I'll try to get it lined up. So I am going to open this one and stick this one down. I'm finding my little pencil mark. And then I just eyeball the bottom. And then there we go. So I'm going to do the same method all the way down. And I'll show you that in a minute. And I have my last piece that's going to go right on the bottom, just like that. And we're almost done with the waterfall. Cute. There we go. So cute. So now what I did was I needed to cut a piece of, I used the solid cardstock because I want to make a thin little border. This is almost as big as the page here. So if you wanted to, you could go ahead and put it on. I decided that I wanted to go ahead and add some pattern paper behind it just to give it a, you can see I did the blue here, so I'm doing the green there. So let's just go ahead first and stick this one on. And because I do have a waterfall on it, I'm going to go ahead and add some tape through the center area, just because it's going to get a lot of movement and I don't want this paper to lift. And I want to make sure it's good and anchored. You can also add glue. So I can put this one on first. And it is very tight. Because it is almost the same size as my paper, so I do not have any wiggle room. And I can put the rest on now. All right, and then one more thing to do with this guy before we stick it to the page is you need a piece of string. And then I have another little charm. So we need to make our closure here. So I have plenty of extra. So I'm going to flip this over. And again, you need some scraps. So I'm going to cut out a scrap piece. And I'm going to go ahead and tie this to this. Tie the string to my little scrap. Oops, get in there. And that's just because I don't want this to come off. So now I'm going to add some glue to this piece and on the string so it doesn't come untucked. And kind of center it. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. And I'm going to put this piece on top of this piece. And that's keeping this side from coming undone. Make sure you have it nice and pressed down at the bottom so your string doesn't go every which way. So that's what I have there. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and add some tape to the side. And then a piece on this side. I'll do my charm when I'm done. And the tape is just so I can anchor it to my page. And then I can also add glue after. So that's what I have. And I'm going to center it to the green piece. So I will have a tiny little bit of green shown at the top and a tiny little bit at the bottom. And then an equal distance from side to side. So when I know I'm good, actually let's start this first. So I'm just folding over top. It's tight because of all the photo mats that we have here. So I'm going to center it up again, making sure I'm good. And I'm going to hold it, and then now I can just, like a zip tie, just pull it down. And that's stuck. So now I'm going to go ahead. I want to add some glue on here. Again, it gets a lot of movement. And this off. And just get that glue pressed down. And then down here on the bottom, I'm just going to add some more glue. I just don't want it to smudge on my papers. So right where my string is, I'm just going to stick a little glue in there. Oops. And press that down. And take that out. We're all done with the glue. And this way, I like making the waterfalls this way because you can kind of keep them straight. So it works nice. And then you just have your closure and you're all good. So I can go ahead. I'm going to add my charm. And that looks good right there height-wise. Right there looks good. So now I can untwist it and tie a bunch of knots. Make sure it's good. And just trim off a little of the excess. And there we go. So that's our cute little inside area. So this way we have a lot of photo mats. We have the width of our spine piece. So that way if we go ahead and add a lot of photos, we've got room to expand. And if we do get too thick, we do have a string closure. So that's a lot more forgiving than if you did magnets. And as your book got thicker, your magnet pieces are kind of separating because your book's so thick, it's not going to hold. So I kind of like string closures for that fact. And then this was this page here. So now all I have left to do is just go ahead and add some photo mats and stuff to here. I did, let's see, and I added this. I still have to add the pattern paper and some photo mats for the pockets and then do something cute to the cover. But we're almost done. So I'm going to go ahead, work on just adding some photo mats to these pages. It's not going to be anything fancy. So I will show you as soon as I get that part done. So we are going to create, this is what I have on the inside. So I have a little pocket over here. I put a 1-inch strip across. This is my spine. And then I have rooms for photo mats going across. So we're going to create this little pocket. And to do that, you need to cut a piece that is 2.5 by 8, scoring 1/2 inch on each end and across the bottom. And I added my tape, so I'm going to trim this up. And I'm going to stick this down. Let's go ahead and burnish first. Oops. So I have my pockets going this direction here, so you can see they'll go like this, because when you close these down, anything you put in your pockets will be kept closed by the other flaps there. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this piece down first. And looks good there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my pattern paper down first. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that it is hiding behind the pocket. You can always cut it and slide it in the pocket, but I'm just going to do it this way. So I'm going to stick this side down first here, and then the other side. And I can stick my pocket. And then going over here, the piece that you folded, nothing will get caught on it because this works like a little, kind of like a little ramp to it. So here's that one. And I have my pattern piece. So I'm going to line it up. This side. So how cute is that? So you have your little pockets, and then these flaps over here. So I have to add something to this side and here, and then I still got to do the border around this. We're almost done. All right, let me show you what I did. So let's see. So over here, I did this. So we have this page, and then just some room for some photo mats. I'll probably stick some down here. You'll see that in the final. And then over here, again, same thing. And then this page right here, I did this. And then I just did my little border around here. And I have almost no paper left, so just a tad bit. So not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead, finish those up. I'm going to decorate my cover. And we are almost there. So let me just wrap up with you on what I've done. So I went ahead and decorated the cover. For the little clover right here, it was three-dimensional. Both sides were done it, so I used a razor and I cut it in half very, very carefully by my ad. And I hot glued all the little leaves and stuff on. And that's also what I had used in my To Catch a Gnome project. And then I just embellished it with some stickers. I added some photo mats. There's some stickers. I added some plain cardstock to the back side. Oops, he came right off. Anyway, you can see right here, that's the sticky portion, and I just stick him down there. And then you can add a photo underneath and then stick it on top of your photo. This isn't stuck down all the way either. And then our waterfalls, I went ahead and added photo mats. Again, also bigger photo mats and using the sticker embellishment sheet. And then we have our pockets. And that closes up, and then, oops, right over here, same thing. I added some cardstock to the back of the sticker, so you have little tuck spots. And then over here, same thing again. And then my back pocket. The back cover I did not do anything with. And then from the sticker sheet, I added some of the clover to the spine. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this little video. Video tutorial, I should say, on this little mini album, or mini folio, I guess. It's not really an album because I did not add any binding system to it. I just kind of attached the pages to the covers and stuff. So it's my hardcover little mini folio. I hope you enjoy this. This is another project for Country Craft Creations. The paper is photo play called Lucky Charm with these adorable little gnomes. I can't help but just smile when I see them because they make me so happy. Anyway, I hope you love this tutorial. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and until next time, guys, happy crafting. Bye.